All right, welcome everybody to the show. Hope everybody's doing fantastic out there. And it looks like we're good to go. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. As always, here at Perfect Soulmates. All right, let's go. Welcome everyone to another highly educational, powerful, insightful, passionately wise and intelligent Perfect Soulmates show. I am your best relationship coach, Coach Ben. With yet another 10 new subscribers, here's your extra show. You've earned it. And we continue to climb. So, lots of good news for all of us. Recently, I had lots of positive interest and support from my latest live stream, which was all about the friend zone. So, today's topic is the definition of real friendship. Far too many people continue to water down what the word friend is supposed to mean. You wouldn't call anyone your mother, father, idol, or most honest, loving person in the world, would you? That's because certain titles are naturally given to specific people who have earned the privilege to be addressed by their appropriate titles. Why would you just go around calling anybody your best friend or this and that? They gotta be earned, don't they? You also wouldn't call anyone your best friend because such a title also must be earned based on your choosing, of course. So the question is, why carelessly go out into the chaotic world we live in today, calling almost everyone you meet your friend? Does that make sense to you? I mean, talk about watered down. You know what a friend used to mean? Way before I was even born, for example. Loyalty, courage, respect, honor, and so much more. The list goes on. And it seems like over the decades, people have just gone downhill from understanding what a true friend is all about. So that's what this stream is all about. And we're going to go ahead and get right into it. So without further ado. All right. Now, the most important thing in a real relationship, actually in a real friendship, is trust. The same in a relationship, by the way. I want to say that at the same time. In a real relationship, a serious lifelong relationship is trust. But the same functions in a real friendship. That's the most important thing, is trust. Friendship also functions in a similar manner, like I said, with relationships, with its own crucial requisites. So, trust is all about vowing to each other loyalty, honor, and respect, but it's so much more than just those words. So, yes, it's true that respect must be earned, but as soon as you designate someone as your friend, they should have earned the privilege of being called your friend already because they respect you and vow never to disrespect you, both now or in the future. Respect, of course, is a two-way street, but sadly, there's too many narcissistic people out there playing what I call the power struggle. It's where one friend ranks higher than the other. In real friendship, there are no ranks. You are both equals. Please understand this. Your friend, as well as yourself, need to be loyal to each other. This means you both share the same enemies together as a team. If someone insults or otherwise harms your friend, that means having the empathy necessary to take appropriate action. So, for example, why would you befriend the enemy of your friend? You're no longer your friend's friend, are you? Oh, but they didn't offend me. They didn't insult me. That's irrelevant. Because guess what? That's insulting and shameful to your friend, the person you choose to call friend. Where's the loyalty and honor to your friend if they have an enemy of their own? No. It's shared enemies, okay? Now, I'm not talking about war. I'm talking about the scenario where somebody disrespects your friend. That's disrespectful to you because you're their friend. So you should defend them. You should support them. Of course, from this point onward, please understand that this is all in good faith. Okay, we're not talking about gangs here committing violence. Because ironically, they actually show more loyalty to each other than just regular people in general most of the time. Actual gangs committing violence. Talk about teamwork to get the job done. I'm not promoting gang violence. I'm just saying, wow. I mean, if we had that same level of dedication to each other, we could do amazing good things in this world. So that's what I'm talking about. So don't get it twisted. Don't take anything of what I'm saying to the extreme during this whole presentation, because that's not what I'm about. If you have any specific question, go ahead and fire it off to me. I'll clarify. It's too much to explain. So let's go ahead and move on, shall we? When I say take appropriate action, I don't mean go beat up somebody because they insulted your friend, by the way, okay? I don't promote violence. As a martial artist for 30 years, trust me, not fighting is the best option. Okay, so the same way you would courageously and proudly defend a family member from danger, the same way you would honor and protect your spouse or children, someone you choose to call a friend deserves all of your loving and caring support. You should show sympathy for each other during challenging, tough moments in life. You should both be great listeners, never overpowering the other by talking over each other, for example. Listening is by far the most important part of basic verbal communication. Your problems are your friend's problems, and your friend's problems are your problems. Unless, of course, it's something each of you need to be able to handle on your own, in order to not always have to depend on each other. Always use reasonable, intelligent judgment. Okay? Like I said, it's not necessarily a blanket statement. I'm just saying, generally speaking, you should care about your friend just as much as you care about yourself. Never one over the other. That way balance is established. You guys are a team. Because if you don't feel that teamwork sensation and you guys are just labeling each other friends, then it means absolutely nothing. Why don't you change the label friend to simple acquaintance or a colleague or whatnot? Co-worker, whatever it is. Because earning the title of friend, that's a very serious title. And if you don't hold it to be serious, then it'll never mean anything to you or to your friend. And guess what? The loyalty goes out the window at any time. Trust me, it happens every single day. But we'll get into it. The ability to forgive small or medium, I'd say moderate mistakes. Small to moderate mistakes shows much needed mercy and benevolence. Real friends will always vow to have each other's backs. But not everything is about brute strength. Sometimes compassion is necessary for things that are simply out of your hands. Friends do not fight to see who is better than the other. Friendly competition is normal behavior, but competing to the point of utter immature foolishness is not what being friends is all about. Friends lift each other up and help each other to be their absolute best. This is what I call the warrior's mindset, combined with a bodyguard mentality. Friends are friends because they protect and serve each other when needed. However, they also respect each other's personal space and need to have lives of their own. Very, very important here. You and your friend both need to find a potential future soulmate to love with all of your heart and soul. Because life is not about playing video games and goofing around, killing precious time of your lives without the fulfillment, happiness, meaning, and purpose that love brings. Understand that. You guys can play sports, play games, but there comes a point in your life where you should hit the next level. You should start to mature, in other words. Because mature friends are strong friends. Where's the wisdom and intelligence? Or is it all just about goofing around? Because that's a weak friendship, if you ask me. If it's all just talking about movies and games and just current life events like the news all day, every day, sorry, that's not a friendship, people. You guys got to share your personal thoughts, opinions. You don't have to share everything. But the better and stronger the friendship, the more you should share. After all, if you're afraid to share something with your friend, then they're not your friend, are they? That's why you need to be very careful who you label as your friend. Especially plural, friends with an S at the end. Because I tell you what, real friends in this life, you can only count on one hand. Even if it's just one. If you're lucky. Now, I'm not talking about your best friend. Maybe they're your one and only best friend, and everybody else is an acquaintance. That's fine. I'm just saying, if you have what you call 10 friends or more, just because they're on the same soccer team or football team, No. No, those are acquaintances, okay? It's impossible to spend as much time needed with friends that is actually required, okay? You can't just go around naming, I got 50 friends. Just because you have their phone numbers and email address or whatnot, you know where they live, or you guys hang out. Hanging out doesn't mean that you guys are automatically friends. It's got to be something special, people. That's the same thing as calling everybody your sweetheart, everybody that you have sex with, and it's not even a real relationship. It's not even a committed, long-term, lifelong relationship. It's meaningless. It's pointless. So why do such a thing? You're just playing around with people's hearts and starting with your own. So friendship is similar. You don't just toss this label around. Otherwise, you're dumbing it down. You're watering it down. It's not going to mean anything anymore. As with lots of things in life, the more you water it down, the more meaningless it becomes, and therefore your life becomes meaningless before you know it. You should take some of these things very seriously. Otherwise, there's no reason to exist. And love is one of those words that you shouldn't be tossing around like candy. Love is something that is just the most powerful, most beautiful force in this world. So let's get back to friendships, shall we? All right, so friends do not fight, warrior mindset. Yeah, so your future potential soulmate, that's what it's about. I'll explain. Friends help each other to survive, but they should always strive to make it on their own. All right, so strongly independent when needed. What happens if something happens to your friend? Well, you got to be able to make it on your own, right? So that one is not a burden to the other. Yet friends will always help each other in emergency situations or in other times of need, such as seeking advice or emotional support. In the online world, be very careful who you call a friend. Expect to be betrayed in one way or another by highly immature people who couldn't care less about who you are in the first place. Beware calling someone online your friend, because they can easily turn on you at any moment. I just had to get that out of the way. It's just a circus out there, okay? Online. Now, in the real offline world, betrayal is still a possibility, but only by your own friends. And also by, it could be your parents or family members, keep that in mind, depending on each individual's past and present. A true friend should never attempt to control or manipulate you. Friends do not criticize. They don't. They simply offer advice to each other without being overbearing or intrusive. Friends do not insult. They don't publicly shame you or humiliate you. Your friend should always be laughing with you and never laughing at you. This is very serious, okay? You know, people, they just clown around, and guess what? The more you clown around in a friendship, the less valuable it is. The same thing in a relationship. The less you take it seriously, well then guess what? You won't succeed. It's meaningless, right? It's weak. It's a weak relationship. So what do you want? A weak friendship? You got to learn how to value what you have in this life and who you have by your side. Are they really truly by your side? Or are they just pretending to be? Friends do not engage in physically hurting each other or verbally making fun of each other. In the case with what many call roasting, for example, you know, when you roast each other, such humor needs to be done very carefully and in good taste. Nowadays, it's simply out of control. And actually, if you ask me, downright ridiculous. Because the normalization of disrespect will turn friends into immature, senseless clowns. Real friends are always generous to each other by giving and caring for one another whenever possible. They support each other through action because it's more than just mere words. They're not just a shoulder to cry on. They create solutions to problems and always work together. If a friend is no longer grateful for your loyalty and dedication, then it's time to move on by ending the friendship, depending on how severe the situation may be, of course. Sometimes letting a friend go has nothing to do with betrayal and everything to do with having to part ways. For example, once you have found your potential soulmate, it's not about leaving your friend behind. It's about your friend respecting the fact that in order to become happy in a successful lifelong soulmate relationship, you're going to have to give 100% effort and dedication. So, how are you supposed to fall in love with somebody and maintain that relationship if your friend's knocking on the door almost every day. Hey, let's go hang out. Hey, let's go do this. You're kind of busy, aren't you? Especially if you have kids. So respect each other in that regard. Times change. Things change. But it doesn't mean that your friendship has to die. It just gets adapted into a new scenario. Because that should be the goal of everybody in this life, is to find their perfect soulmate. Anybody, and I mean anybody who denies this truth, is living in denial and is no longer acting naturally. They're acting unnaturally. And they're going to scream and shout, no, that's not true. You're wrong. You're wrong. I'm not interested in what you have to say if you're going to deny that fact. Because if you can ask anybody who's so happy with their soulmate by their side, maybe they have kids, maybe they don't. You don't have to have kids in this world. But if you are happily in love with your soulmate, you're not going to come try to convince me that that's not happiness and that it doesn't matter and that that's not the single goal in this life. You can survive just to survive. You can have friends just to have friends. But are you seriously going to go to people and tell them that that's the purpose in life? To just to live? No, I don't think so. So let's go ahead and move on. You gotta, the maturation process is, you're born as a little baby, you're weak, you don't know what life is, you don't even know what your own name is, the label that they give you, yada yada. They throw you into school, and then you begin, the indoctrination process. What's math, what's English, what's science, blah, blah, blah. And then maybe college, maybe not, and then you're tossed into the workforce. Go work for money and pay bills. That's not what life is about, people. That takes a huge chunk of our life away in order to get situated, in order to establish proper means of communication. In other words, to establish friendships too. Communication is key. So a certain level of education is required in order to properly communicate with each other. Basic reading and writing, for example, and how behavior. So discipline. They do teach you that in school, forcefully, unfortunately, but naturally discipline should come over time as you mature. That's my point. I sincerely hope by now you won't just go around calling anyone your friend. Sure, all of us have simple acquaintances with every new person we meet, whether our interactions are short-term or long-term, but one should be very careful who they call a friend. It's not as simple as what many people joke around with today, saying that someone passed the vibe check. That's the latest right there. Having a real friend means letting someone special into your daily life, for good or for worse. Who knows? Anything can happen at any time, like it or not. I've seen the best of friends turn on each other, and sometimes there's just no explanation for it. Just turns to the dark side. So be very careful who you befriend in this world. This doesn't mean to live a paranoid life, however, going around saying that nobody can be trusted. Such a naive, immature statement will only spell future disaster and unhappiness, because your first and possibly only true friend in your life needs to be your future soulmate. That's who your best friend really should be. That's how successful lifelong relationships begin. They begin with a solid, unbreakable friendship. So, when you hear someone say that you can't trust anyone these days, all they're saying with such foolish absolutism is that they themselves can't be trusted. Think about it. Just because our world today is mostly chaotic, and it's at its most challenging level in the history of humanity, doesn't mean that we all have to give up on each other and live life with a negative self-defeatist mindset. There is always a way out. There is always a way forward. So, let's discuss friendship a little bit more, shall we? Everything that I just described is only the tip of the iceberg. Because you should feel that friendship just coursing through your entire body, your mind, and your spirit, which are your emotions. So it's not just somebody's name, some acquaintance. Oh, what's up, my friend? Hey, amigo. We do loosely use these. I actually use them loosely too, just to be polite. But are they really your friend? No. They're your acquaintance, right? You're just being polite about it. So keep that in mind. keep in mind that your true friends are going to be, like I said, only counted on one hand. If somebody has more than 5 real friends in this life, you're not going to have time to live a life at all. It's too many friends. And you shouldn't have too many friends. Because, once again, you need to find your perfect soulmate. Perfection's not going to exist right off the bat. They're not going to become soulmates overnight. You have to earn these. Right? Titles. You have to earn them. They don't just magically happen. Like everything in life, you have to fight for it. You have to create it. You have to build it, nurture it. Keep it alive. And friendship is no different. Especially in a relationship. But that's the paramount. So, if you have 1 or 2 friends, maybe 5, if they're really your friends, if you really can truly say that with all of your heart and soul, that these people you trust 100%. I'm talking about even with bank account information, for crying out loud. I know that sounds like an exaggeration, but think about it. You would trust your soulmate with such information, but could you trust a friend with such information? It's not advised, is it? Because it's always going to be there. The doubt, the fear that maybe one day they will turn on you. And now things become a danger, right? So that's why trust is so important in this world. Do you really trust who you say you trust? And do they really trust you the way they say they do? These things have to be proven, demonstrated. Action speaks louder than words and vows. Anybody can vow to do this and that. How serious are they? They can look you dead in the eye and say, I'm your friend, you can trust me. And then, what do you know? All of a sudden in the future, that goes out the window and you get ghosted. You get ignored, whatever the case is. I'll be fine because I have my soulmate by my side. But it's like I don't have time for real friends. Acquaintances, yes, I'm here to help people, as many people as I can. But I can't get to know each and every single one of you out there and labeled you as my friends. It's just not, it's not realistic. You guys should have friends of your own if that's the case, if you still haven't found somebody to love with all of your heart and soul. I hope you guys really get the point here. So the goal ultimately is true love. You don't find it, you develop it with somebody who you trust is your potential future soulmate. And your friends, the people that you have befriended, who are more than just an acquaintance, people you can trust to a certain extent, they're there to help you reach that goal. Here's a perfect example. Let's go back to Disney really quick. The movie Bambi. What happened in the end of Bambi? Everybody got, what is it? Twitter platted or whatever the bunny said? Thumper. So, one animal fell in love with the other animal. And then they kept marching on. And then there was one less and one less until it was Bambi's turn to fall in love. You see, that's real friendship right there. It's not leaving each other behind. It's understanding the natural process and nature of our lives as human beings. The animals know this. When they leave the nest, when they leave the cocoon, that's it. They're gone. They don't come back. The animals are free, and they understand this. They don't sit there depressed and mourning the loss and, oh, they're never going to come back and visit us. So we're kind of spoiled in that regard with planes, trains, and automobiles. We can just visit each other here and there. But the main point should be find your perfect soulmate, your potential soulmate, and your friend should support that goal because they should have the same goal. And guess what? The beauty of life continues because you guys help each other get to that goal and you guys still remain friends, but you just don't need each other that much anymore. There's nothing wrong with that. You guys can join celebrations and whatnot. It's okay. But you shouldn't be spending more time with your friends when you have somebody to love with all of your heart and soul. Work on your relationship because that's your priority. That's what this channel is all about. Establishing the most beautiful, powerful, unbreakable relationship you can imagine. So either you take it seriously and read my book, for example, watch my 1-hour video course if you don't like books. Do something to improve your relationship. It doesn't have to be with me. So, discussing friendship in this presentation, I just want you to really understand that a friend is more than just a word. And that's why I use Spartans in this example, not just because we reached over 300 subscribers, ironically. Because those are real warriors, theoretically, if it's all true, because I wasn't there. So you can see the attitudes portrayed in these visuals. these movies that they created about them. What was so unique about the Spartans? The numbers, the odds were against them, and they still remained loyal to the end. They put their lives down for each other. I'm not asking you to do the same for your friend. I mean, maybe that's the case. I know when I was in the army, that was supposed to be the case. I was supposed to die for my fellow battle buddy. But that's another story, okay? It's kind of like forced friendships, brothers in arms, because we had to protect each other. Not necessarily because we wanted to, because it's just a different scenario altogether. It's like when you go to college. You know, you have tutors and you guys study together in order to pass the exam together as a team. But after you guys graduate college, most likely you guys go off into your own little lives, right? It's not literally little, but individual lives, better said. But that's the point of life. We help each other get to the goal. So the ultimate goal should be love, finding true love. Don't pay attention to everybody out there who's all miserable each and every single day saying love doesn't exist, soulmates don't exist. That's wasting your life. And if you have friends who talk like that, they're dragging you down. Because they're scared to be happy one day. They're scared of love itself. And that's just really sad. So friendship is all about helping each other reach, attain, accomplish, whatever you want to say, to conquer their goals and challenges, to get through bad moments in their life. Help each other whenever needed. But be careful, because there are false friends out there who will try to take advantage of you. It's similar to the friend zoning stream that I just had. You got to be very careful, because there's always deception out there. So that's why I said do not just use the term friend, the label, the title, the rank friend. Don't use it loosely, because that title should mean something. All right, so with that said, be sure to grab your copy of my life-changing book and 1-hour video course. The link is always down below. Also, at this rate of new subscribers, most likely we will have another extra show this week. I might have to bump it up to 20 new subscribers as a new show at this rate. But there's always going to be another show on Friday, so keep spreading the word for this channel so we can help as many people as we can. This is the Perfect Soulmates Army. It's yours and mine all together. It's ours. This is like a online acquaintance. You can call it a friendship out of courtesy. But my hope is that you have real friends offline, okay? I'm just here to help you out, and you guys hopefully are online to help other people out as well. Offline especially. So, with that said, thanks everybody for watching this show, and stay tuned to the next one. It's been a pleasure. Much love.